Alright, picture this. You're in a lab wearing thick gloves and a face shield, staring at a silvery liquid swirling in a beaker. The air smells faintly metallic, and every move you make is slow and careful, because you know you're handling something that's both fascinating and dangerous. The liquid in front of you isn't just any chemical, it's mercury, one of the most mysterious elements on the periodic table. It's mercury. Yeah, the stuff your old thermometers used to have. For decades, mercury was a staple in science labs and household gadgets, from thermometers to barometers. But what happens if you actually try to boil mercury? Let's find out, and trust me, it's not your average science experiment. First, some quick science. Mercury is the only metal that's liquid at room temperature. Unlike iron, copper, or gold, which are all solid and tough, mercury flows and moves almost like water, but with a much heavier feel. It's heavy, shiny, and super weird. If you ever see it up close, it almost looks like a living mirror, reflecting light in a way that's both beautiful and a little bit eerie. Most metals need thousands of degrees to boil, but mercury? It turns into a gas at about 357 degrees Celsius. That's just a little hotter than your kitchen oven on its highest setting, which is wild for a metal. That's way lower than iron or copper. For comparison, iron boils at over 2,800 degrees Celsius. So, mercury is in a league of its own when it comes to boiling points. So, you crank up the heat, and the mercury starts bubbling. The surface ripples and pops, sending tiny droplets dancing across the beaker. It looks kind of mesmerizing. The surface shimmers, little droplets bouncing around. It's almost hypnotic, like watching a metallic lava lamp, but way more dangerous. But here's where it gets dangerous. As mercury boils, it turns into a colorless, invisible vapor. You can't see it, you can't smell it, but it's there, floating in the air above the beaker. And that vapor, it's insanely toxic. Just breathing in a tiny bit can mess up your nervous system, your kidneys, even your brain. Mercury vapor can linger in the air, and even a small exposure can cause symptoms like tremors, memory loss, and mood swings. In severe cases, it can be life-threatening. This is why you'll never see this experiment outside a super-controlled lab with crazy powerful ventilation. Scientists use special fume hoods and air filters to make sure not a single molecule escapes into the room. Now, as it boils, the mercury vapor fills the air above the beaker. It rises silently, mixing with the air, and if you're not careful, it can spread far beyond the lab bench. If you could see it, it would look like a ghostly cloud. Imagine a thin, floating mist that's completely invisible to the naked eye, but deadly if you breathe it in. And if you somehow froze the vapor, it would turn into tiny mercury crystals. How wild is that? These crystals are rare and beautiful, but just as toxic as the vapor itself. But honestly, this is one of those look, don't touch science moments. Even experienced scientists keep their distance, using remote tools and cameras to observe what's happening. So, what do scientists actually do with boiled mercury? Mostly they're studying its properties or cleaning up industrial spills. Sometimes they're researching how mercury behaves in different environments, or testing new ways to contain and neutralize it safely. Sometimes they use it in special scientific equipment, but because it's so toxic, most places are switching to safer alternatives. Digital thermometers and other modern tools have replaced mercury in most labs and hospitals. So, what's the bottom line? Boiling mercury is fascinating, but it's also one of the most dangerous things you can do in a lab. The risks are so high that only trained professionals with the right equipment should ever attempt it. Even the tiniest mistake can have lifelong consequences. That's why safety protocols are strict, and why mercury is treated with so much respect in the scientific community. If you're curious about chemistry, there are plenty of cool, safe experiments you can do at home. You can make a homemade volcano, grow crystals, or even create invisible ink, all without risking your health. But this one? Definitely leave it to the pros. Mercury is a reminder that science can be both amazing and dangerous, and some experiments are best left behind glass and in expert hands. Got more mind-blowing science questions? Drop them in the comments. We love exploring the weirdest corners of science with you, and remember, science is awesome,